So, Boker Tov, on this fine Sunday morning, and as the title of the class tells us what the focus today will be, Purim 101. This week we will be celebrating the holiday of Purim. It is the most joyous of holidays, definitely up there amongst the Jewish holidays. And as I mentioned over here to my fellow friends and listeners over here, that this class assumes that you know the basic story of Purim and Haman and Esther and Ahasuerus and the Megillah, which, of course, today you could read and there's so many commentaries, there's so much insight that is shared that today is available online, and I encourage you all to do so. So today, while we are, it's Purim 101, we're addressing some of the sort of basics, but I do want to highlight a couple of points, some that we've spoken about in the past, and some messages and insights with regards to Purim. Namely also related to a bit of an incident that describes sort of today's environment and a lesson that we could take from Purim as well. Last week, those who follow me on social media must have seen that I was in Washington. And I went there for one purpose, which is to put up mezuzahs and to put on tefillin on our local congressman and representative in Washington, Jared Moskowitz, the honorable congressman. Let's first make a bracha. We didn't make the bracha yet on our coffee. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh b'dvaro. And as we always try to begin with a mitzvah of tzedakah, so that Hashem blesses that the words that I share today shall be the proper words and find its proper impact both on myself and the listeners. So yeah, a little bit of tzedakah. Okay, so I'm in Washington. I put up mezuzahs. I shared some words of Torah with Jared, together with my nephew, with Rabbi Yanki Denberg, and one of the messages, just incidentally, or the main message that I shared with the congressman is that it's very apropos that we're doing this mitzvah in proximity to Purim because, he shared that in Congress, sometimes there are exciting, important bills that get passed, and sometimes it's more the regular ordinary, and he spoke about some bill or discussion about rubber tires. So I said, look, it's very apropos. It's close to Purim, and Mordechai was a representative. He was a representative in the superpower of his day in Babylonia, and I'm sure he also had to deal with some of the rubber tire issues. And yet he always remembered that he was there, as he told Esther, that he was there as a representative of his people. Although he was dedicated to all his constituents, he was a representative of his people, and shared that with Jared, with the Congressman Jared Moskowitz, that he should thank and remember, as he does, the responsibility of being dedicated and representative of all the constituents, but as a fellow Jew, always remember his Jewish brothers and sisters, and the merit, the power, the zchut that he has to be in that position, again, as Mordechai instructed and inspired and lifted up Esther when she had the challenge of representing our people. And today, too, with our enemies and Hamas and anti-Semitism and so on, there's an extra responsibility for our Jewish representatives to always remember that they're there appointed by as a democracy, but at the same time, the Talmud says that anybody who merits to have any type of leadership position is because it is so destined by the Almighty, and therefore the enormous responsibility and merit that comes with that. So that was the Torah that we shared with him in terms of its proximity to Purim as we're putting on mezuzahs. However, at the same time, and this here again is a lesson from Purim, is that I came back and someone mentioned to me, and again, I want to give this introduction before I continue what I'm about to say, is because those of you who listen to my classes know that I'm fairly careful when it comes to not mentioning political issues. But here, this was a visit to Congress, which was very sort of meaningful, and you're in the seat of power of our country, so politics is somewhat inevitable. And whenever you start talking about politics, there are people who become very sensitive and irrational, I would even say. So as I come back, and people saw, some of the sharings. People saw some of the sharings on social media and so on, and their comment was, because of that person's particular political persuasion, said, "Oh, but he's a Democrat," and it reminded me the sort of the reverse situation that went about. What was it, 7 years ago, after the terrible murders at the MSD, at the Michael Stoneman Douglas School, and I had the honor, although it was related to a tragedy, to officiate Hanukkah for the Hanukkah menorah lighting at the White House. I got sort of flack that how could I go to the White House and officiate when at that time it was a Republican. It was President Trump who was the president. And so here was the reverse. I went to put up mezuzahs, to put on tefillin. And so I say this as part of the message over here today, and it's Purim message, an important message. And with no intent of any political commentary over here. Haman, when he speaks to Achashverosh, I mean, again, since the title of the class is Purim 101, so for those who don't even know the basics, or and I hope you do, is the very short version is, they wanted to kill us, and we won. Let's eat. Yeah, that's the old lighter side short version. But basically, Haman rose up the ranks. He became essentially the second in command to Achashverosh, who was the king, and he convinced Achashverosh to issue a decree to annihilate the entire Jewish people. This is the first recorded anti-Semitism on that level after the giving of the Torah, of course, and it's the story of Purim and so on. So, a blatant anti-Semitism. And the result being, so Haman here is making his appeal to Achashverosh. And in his appeal, as we read in the Megillah, there is so much to be learned just from his appeal. And Haman says to Achashverosh the following words: Yeshno am echad, there is a one nation, mefuzar, scattered, meforod, and divided. Yeshno am echad, mefuzar, meforod, bein ha'amim. They are the scattered, they are divided amongst the people, amongst the nations. In other words, even though they are your people and they're part of your society, Yeshna, but nevertheless, they are divided, they're scattered. Now, this line can be understood on various levels. And one of the levels to understand this is that, similar to what happened, again, always trying to apply the Torah reading to its present day and a lesson for us to apply to today, there has been much discussion that one of the things that emboldened Hamas to attack us is the division amongst ourselves. The division amongst ourselves in the Holy Land and beyond is what emboldened Hamas. And this, of course, has spiritual origins and power. As the Talmud says, that when we as a people are united, even when we were idol worshippers, God gave us success in defeating our enemies. When we were Not that we were divided and there was lashon hara and there was evil talk and gossip amongst ourselves. Even when we did in other areas, we performed and we were dedicated to fulfilling the mitzvahs and the will of Hashem, we would lose in battle. So here, Haman HaRasha is saying to Achashverosh, and in his words, whether he was totally conscientious of what he was saying, but nevertheless it's alluded to in his words, yes, there's a people, the Jewish people, the Yehudim, the Israelites, the Jews, that they are a people, but they are mefuzar and mefayra, they are divided. Now, on the simplest level, he was basically saying, as he says clearly, there's no benefit that the king has. They're just scattered and divided, and there's no cohesiveness over there. But on a spiritual level, he was saying, now is the time to strike, because there's division amongst them. But at the same time, the Megillah is stating that within this argument, there's already alluded to what the remedy is. And the deeper reality of what exists over here within the story of the Megillah. How so? So there is discussion and talk in the commentaries and Hasidic teachings that the name of the Megillah is Megillat Esther. The Megillah of Esther. Simple translation is the Megillah, the scroll of Esther. And the question is asked, why is it called the Megillas Esther? Why is it not called Megillat Mordechai? Mordechai was highly instrumental in bringing about the Ness of Purim, the miracle of Purim, the salvation of Purim. And at best, why can't it be called Megillat Mordechai Esther, Megillat Esther Mordechai? It's called Megillat Esther, the Megillah of Esther. And the more spiritual understanding of this is the word Megillat is from the root word of Gilui, which means to reveal. Esther is from the word Hester, Aster, which means secret, that which is concealed. And Megillat Esther represents the revelation, the uncovering, the removal of that which is concealed, the outer layer, what is the appearing layer. And you are able to get to the truth and to the inner workings and the inner truth of what's going on over here. And really that reflects the entire story of Purim, is a story where so many things, and I'm not going to go through all of that, but as you read the Megillah and you pay attention to what I just told you, you'll see the way so many things appeared on one level, and the truth is, if you look deeper, is that a whole different story was happening. Beginning with the whole party of Achashverosh, that he made this lavish party for 180 days. And all of that, which on the surface was him just celebrating his kingdom, all of that was there so that Vashti his first queen, should be removed. All of that was there so that Esther could get into office. All of that was there so that the salvation can happen. And many other stories that on the one surface level seem to be telling us one story. In reality, there's another story, which is why Purim is such a joyous holiday. Because when you in life, in your own challenges and in your own occurrences in life, can get to the bottom of things and see the truth as is, you will reveal a far greater and better and more meaningful reality. And in doing that in itself, uncovering and removing those concealments, that in itself brings tremendous joy. But getting back to our thought over here, our theme of the division versus the unity, Yeshno Am Echad. What Purim is telling us, amongst many other beautiful lessons, and you could, again, sit and learn the Megillah for hours and hours. But in this particular story, the Megillah is telling us that although Haman, on the surface level, highlighted and he saw and he tried to underscore to Achashverosh the division amongst ourselves, in the same word, he didn't just say Yeshno Am, there is a nation. He said Yeshno Am Echad, there is a nation of oneness. That's a literal translation. Again, simply means there is a nation, there is one nation, but here there's a nation of Echad. Everything in the Megillah, every word in Torah is exact. In truth, what you think is division, the underlying truest reality is that we are one. What unites us with a Jew in Israel? I mentioned this last week. One of the greatest pleasures I had in my recent trip to Israel was to be able to put food onto a fellow soldier in the IDF who I never met before. I don't know. In fact, different backgrounds on sort of the outer reality level, but that was the deepest. There was some deeper inside oneness, echad, that I felt with him. And that is the true strength and the reality of who we are. Purim, yeshno am echad. So when I'm going, just to get back to the original sort of discussion, when I'm going to the White House to officiate Hanukkah, when I'm going to Congress to put up a mezuzah, I am not going, not to a Republican, not to a Democrat, not to someone who. These are for me. These are. I'm not on a trip to. I'm on a political trip over here. I am going to the echad. When I'm going to the White House, I'm going representing my people, my nation, to try to bring meaning to Hanukkah, to try to be a role model, to try to highlight the beauty of Hanukkah, the message of Hanukkah, what it represents to millions of people in that particular case. To bring comfort to fellow human beings who have been so devastated by an act of murder. When I'm going to put up mezuzah, I'm going to the soul of who, and I'm trying to sort of dig into the neshama, to the core soul, the echad that both I and him share in common. That echad, the echad representing God Almighty, echad representing our soul, echad representing the oneness, the truest oneness of who we are. That is what Purim is. And in today's day and age, both as a society, whether it's and especially as a Jewish people who we are under attack, but yet that's not our reality. That's not our celebration. That's not what unites us. What unites us is the wonderful, beautiful echad. That's the celebration and a big part of the Purim celebration. We cannot underscore that. We need to think about it. We need that to allow us to penetrate. What is our oneness? Yes, there are areas within our more sort of revealed layers that we disagree with. That's okay. That's fine. And there's of course a way to do that. But that's not our truest reality. It's like a father and a child. What's your relationship? That you like to play baseball together? Of course, it's nice to go play baseball together. But that's not what unites you. What unites you is the core, essential soul level that you have with each other. And so too on a larger scale of who we are. So this is part of what Purim is. This is part of what the mitzvahs of Purim is. This is part of which is the giving to the poor, sharing baskets of food, sitting down and having a meal together, hearing the Megillah, learning from the Megillah. This is all part of, these are all actions that try to bring forth that essential oneness, the Yeshno Am Echad. It was despite, it's actually even a greater joy. Although although we might be scattered, although we might be in different parts of the world, although we might even sometimes have serious disagreements, but that's the underlying bond that unites us all is the Yeshno Am Echad, that there is one people. So this is sort of a shorter one lesson of what Purim has to tell us. I do encourage you that if you have any other questions or you need a place for Purim, please don't hesitate to reach out. It's a lot of very beautiful messages. I mean, I want to even add, and maybe I'll add one more thought that I shared yesterday, which is that Aharon, the high priest, merited to wear the choshen, which we read about in yesterday's portion. He merited to wear the breastplate, which represented, as the Torah says, the breastplate had the names of all the tribes representing the entire Jewish nation, and he wore it upon his heart to bring atonement for the Jewish people. And the Medrash says, in what merit that Aharon, the high priest, have, that he represented upon his heart the entire Jewish nation. And the Merit says something very, and the Medrash says something very beautiful, that when God asked Moses as his messenger to take the Jewish people out of Egypt, Moses refused. He kept on saying, ask someone else. And at one point, the Torah tells us, he said, Shlach no biyat tishlach, send someone else. One of the explanations is, who did he have in mind when he said somebody else? He had in mind his older brother, Aaron. He said to God, Aaron has been in Egypt for the last 80 years. I was not there. And different opinions exactly how long Moses was gone from Egypt, but for many years. And Aaron was the prophet. Aaron was the one who represented you, and he's my older brother. I don't want to step on his toes. I don't want to take that away from him. He's my older brother. And God said to Moshe Rabbeinu, as the verse continues, that here Aaron is about to come greet you, as to be a help. He will see you and he will actually be joyous. Not only will he not begrudge you, not only will he not be jealous of you, not only will he not have resentment, he'll actually be joyous for your role in being the leader and taking out the people. That's a true sign of oneness and unity, when not only, in Yiddish there's an expression that's used, even in Hebrew, but it's a Yiddish word, which is called zu farginen. Farginen means to be happy about someone else's successes. Have not only not to have resentment, but to be totally joyous. That's a real sign of oneness, where you could. And how do you achieve that? So the Mishnah says, the Talmud says something very beautiful. The Talmud lists 10 people that became obsessed with something they couldn't have. And the Talmud says what they wanted they couldn't have, and what they had they lost. What does that mean? So the Talmud gives an example. Haman had everything. He was basically the viceroy. Everything that Achashverosh did, he allowed Haman to be in charge. But nevertheless, the Megillah tells us that when he saw V'charois Haman es Mordechai, when he saw that Mordechai was not bowing down to him, he went berserk, he went beshug, he went crazy. He couldn't handle it, even though he had so much power. He had everything he wanted. What was the result? He lost all power. And not only that, the Megillah continues to tell us, Hinei Bet Haman, the home of Haman, Achashverosh gives to Mordechai after he hangs Haman on the tree. On a deeper level, what does this mean? When you have whatever blessings you have, but you're obsessed with what someone else has, you're jealous. You're jealous of what someone else has, till the opposite of not begrudging, the opposite of farginen, the opposite of being happy. You become so jealous and you want it. You covet it. You're not going to get that which you're not meant to have. So you're going to be obsessed with what you're not meant to have. And in return, you're going to lose what you have. On a deeper level, it doesn't only mean that physically it's going to be taken away from you. It's going to mean that which you have, you don't have. Because what does it mean you have something and you don't enjoy it and you don't appreciate it and it's not part of who you are? You don't have it. It's not yours. Only when can you. If Hashem has given you blessing, He's given you good health, He's given you kindalach, right? He's given you your faculties, but you don't appreciate it. You don't appreciate it. You don't utilize it. Then do you have it? You don't have it. So when you're so obsessed with what someone else has, you're not going to get it. As the Mishnah says, how does one attain happiness? Ezu osher hasameach bechelko. Who is wealthy? One who is happy with his lot. What does that mean? Mishnah, in its own words, it's a famous statement from the Mishnah saying, Ezu osher hasameach bechelko. He realizes who is happy? Someone who's wealthy, one who is happy with their lot. Meaning they recognize that this is their lot. This is what I'm meant to have. What I need to have for my mission, for my purpose, for what God expects from me and what I need to achieve, I am given the package that I need. Whatever I need to get, I'll be able to get. But once you start obsessing and coveting and being jealous from somebody else, that's not your lot. Aaron, the high priest, represented the opposite. He understood that. He said, if Moshe has the qualities and he was chosen by God to take out, I'm happy for him. That's his lot. That's his mission. That's what he has to achieve. It's not mine. It's mine. It's not meant for me. It's not what I need to have, and so on. So he was happy. That's the ultimate and highest expression of true unity in its practical expression. So here is our simple key to joy and our lesson from Purim, our Yeshna Am Echad, to always focus on what is the beneath that which conceals. There's so much concealment. We live in a world of concealment. We live in a world of nice packaging. We live in a world of packaging something so that it that it not always reflects the truth, just reflects nice packaging. And Purim is about living a life of Megillat Esther, revealing and getting to the bottom, getting to the truth of things. If we live life that way on so many levels, we'll be happier, we'll be healthier people, a healthier society, a healthier nation. So may we celebrate Purim with this in mind, a step in self-improvement and growth, both for ourselves and those around us. Everybody have a wonderful and happy and fantastic Purim.